Hey guys, I'm gonna do another quick little shop tour video. I did one a couple months back, but I've added some stuff since then, and some people have asked me what my shop looks like, so I'm just gonna do another quick one. So basically, it's a two-car garage. It's connected to my house. I'm just out in the garage doing this stuff. I have it separated into two different sections. This section is a little bit cleaner than the other section past the plastic sheeting. So let's start with the clean side. I have a couple tables set up. This one here, that's actually a router. The top comes off, and I have a router in there with 1/4 inch carbide burrs for doing chamfers and cleaning up edges and stuff like that, for, like on the blades and the scales. Here, that's my lathe. I actually recently I was moving some stuff out, and I knocked the lathe over, so now it's not working. So I had to get that fixed. Over here is the anodizing station, and over here is the main assembly section. That's where I spend most of my time. But over here, yeah, this is kind of cool. I just got it recently. Like I said, the top comes off, and then when I'm not using it, which is most of the time, I can do projects. I can set projects up here to get like a nice little visual. Here's the knives I'm working on now. Everyone that's on my books. These are the knives that I had to get done before anything. So I'm kind of doing it in, like as a batch. I don't want to leave anyone waiting too much longer. So I'm going to kind of do like batch work with this and try to just go step by step and get these things all done close to the same time. So yeah, here's a couple dress folders I'm working on. Here's the typical, the Warthog is the model I have. You can kind of see the size. I mean, it's a pretty good size. It's a nice size blade. But I actually have another knife that I was making for somebody else that now is going to be available. It's a monster. Let's see. There's actually two of them. They're stupid big. I bought carbon fiber, which I'm going to use for the scales. This one, you can see how big this thing is. So there's that knife. Here's the Warthog, and here's a hand. I mean, you can see that's ridiculous. The guy wanted it huge, and I went huge with it. And I actually have another one, a slightly smaller one. So those are going to be when the books are all done, and I just start making one knife at a time, and then just posting it for sale. I'm going to do those giant freak knives just because I think people might like them just for fun. You're not going to put it in your pocket. Maybe you stick it in a fanny pack. more than likely it'll be a backpack. So yeah, I got a bunch of other little random models I'm going to work with, but mainly it's the Warthog, and I'm going to get these done and then start making knives available. Again, lathe. I'm gonna have to figure out what happened when it dropped. It's probably trash. Below the lathe, it's kind of a mess down here, but I have a demagnetizer. This is my carbidizing station here. So get that lock stick. KS Blade Works made that for me. He gave me a really good deal. I don't know anything about electrical work, so he hooked me up, and a couple other guys on Instagram too. So thanks, Chris. Okay, here's the dirty water. This is the anodizing station. This is awesome. I mean, having everything in its own little zone like it is now, it just works wonders. I can come over here once I clean all the Windex water. I can just anodize in a breeze. I can do multiple colors. It's awesome. The guys who are using like heat for all their anodizing, you don't know what you're missing, because you get to just turn this thing on, set it to whatever voltage is going to get you whatever color you want, and there's all sorts of charts online for that, and just seeing it pop, it's much better than using heat. Down below, random so many chemicals and so many different things you got to use. Here's a bunch of scrap knives I've got in there because knives aren't easy to make and you're going to make a lot of mistakes. So if you decide you want to get into knife making, you better either work really hard with cheap tools or be prepared to spend a lot of money and make a lot of mistakes. But it's definitely worth it though. I use this little granite plate for putting my lines on my blades, scribing my lines on my blades for when I do my grinding, my bevels. It's cool because you can do either one line or two and then work towards the line. You know, you put some layout fluid on there. Most of you guys know this stuff, but that little setup works nice. Some people just use like a drill bit and run that along the center. But you gotta have the right size drill bit for the right, for the thickness of the stock you're working with. So that works out, and that's adjustable. So I like that. Again, this is mainly where I'm at. I set up a couple little beam speakers, and I just put some Howard Stern or some music on, and I'm out here for just hours just messing around. Now I'm going to be out here for hours actually making knives. I've been just setting everything up and wasting so much time on that. But now I got everything I need, and now it's time to get to work with knife making. Here I have all sorts of different sizes of drill bits, end mills, burrs, taps, random stuff. It's so crazy how much this stuff costs. Getting this stuff is not cheap, but I kind of go like balls to the wall and I kind of go overboard. And I make sure that if something comes up, I'm always going to have the right size bit that I need. Most makers probably just they're smart and they use their money wisely, but I just start buying stuff up, and now I have all sorts of options to mess with. More random stuff, tools that I use: scribers, punches, screw holders, like random little tools I've had to make. Like I had to make that, but like little holders for screws for doing sandblasting or tumbling. Little pieces of nothing that you, as a knife maker, you start figuring out ways to make it help you. For me at least, I don't necessarily find these things out myself. I just kind of see somebody else doing it, and I say, hey, that looks like a good idea. Here in this little yellow box is all the hardware. I bought a whole bunch of 440, and then decided I don't like using 440 because in a folding knife, you need all the space you can get, and the 440 is just that much bigger than a 256 that space is, the real estate's valuable. So I ended up going with 256. I'm gonna start using only that exclusively. Got a whole bunch of pivots. This is all Alpha Knife Supply stuff, all the pivots and screws, and the bearings and stuff. Again, that's just crazy expensive, but that's what it costs to make folding knives. Making fixed blades is fun, but I just kind of got bored. I didn't do it much, but I knew right away that to me, like a folding knife, there's so much more to it, and it's such a big challenge that I like the kind of moving. I'm not easily entertained by something that's just a fixed blade. Not that this is some badass fixed blade, but I like something that kind of moves and has parts to it, and it just makes it more interesting to me. And plus, I won't ever really use a fixed blade. I mean, I don't go hunting or fishing, or I just I live in a town and I live in the metro area. So a folding knife you can always have in your pocket. Yeah, again, random little tools you'll need. I need. Hopefully I'm not making you guys dizzy. Over here I got new belts. I got the oven that I use for tempering. I stick all my used belts over here because I always have a purpose for them. And then I can also let my buddy use these instead of using my new belts because he can buy his own. So that's basically it for the clean side. Now on the other side, up here, it's not very organized right now, but this is kind of random parts. mistakes, pieces of like blades that were going to be Damascus that I messed up, but I can now use them for scrap Damascus. Knives that are going to be auction knives, carbon fiber, just random stuff that you need. I mean, it's nice to have some stuff on hand, even though I don't have as much as I used to. It's nice to have a little bit of something. And there's some more random, like you're always gonna have random bits of like just junk everywhere. Over here I have a couple of high-speed drills. I saw a few other makers, Cavco, I think, Robert Carter. I mean, there's a few people that use these high-speed drills, and they're good for the tiny drill bits and the carbide ones. And I don't have to put them into bigger drill press and constantly be changing it. I can have a couple small ones up here and have a couple standard sizes on there, and it's just easy, no fuss. This is how I set my D10 balls into the lock scale. I think a lot of people use that, just a little half, I think that's a half-ton arbor. Below that is kind of like a little soundproof box. Not soundproof totally, but it helps. I have a couple little tumblers. These work fine. They're Harbor Freight. They work fine for what I need to use them for, you know, folders, because it's just such small blades. I have a couple of different finishes on here. This was just specifically a copper wash finish, but I didn't want to have a tumbler set aside and being wasted just for if I ever randomly do a copper finish. So now I have it to where this is more of a rough finish, and this is a finer finish. So it's nice having a couple different little options in there. And I also have a larger tumbler that I'll show you in a bit for fixed blades. To the right, I have a good size heat treat oven. I bought this for a buddy of mine who's getting into making fixed blades. His blades wouldn't fit into my tiny little oven that I have that I'll show you. But this does take a lot longer to heat up and it doesn't get as hot. So I use the small one for the folders for my knives. This is a drill press I bought specifically just for, has the right type of arbor for this tapping head. So this is going to be set up just only for doing tapping. So it's going to be nice to have, you know, I've heard some people have issues with these, so hopefully I don't. A lot of people just prefer just hand tapping, but if I can set this thing up and not have to hand tap and save X amount of time, then I'm going to give it a shot. This is a little quench tank for the high carbon blades, like I said, for the fixed blades my buddy's making. Up above, I have small wheel holder, bunch of small wheels, a large table. Got this from Don Dents, a smaller one that came with the grinder from Fear. It's a Fear grinder. An adjustable, I think this is a 6-inch, a 6-inch jig. I think it's 6-inch. That again is from Don Dents. I haven't really used it much. My buddy has for his fixed blades, but the last couple bevels I ground, or knives I ground, I wanted to do it freehand, and they came out okay. So I'm gonna try to do everything freehand if I can. And if there's like little things that maybe if I need to clean up or something, if I mess something up, I need to go back and clean it up. I have the jig, but I'd like to avoid using it if I can. Over here, flat platen. This is a strap-on surface grinder I got from 84 Engineering. It's an Australian guy who makes them for all sorts of 2x72s, and I think it's awesome. I don't have to have a huge surface grinder, but it works just like a surface grinder. And also you can change the different belts so you have different kind of finishes. So for knife making, especially, you know, folders, it's much better. And I think it was roughly $1,100 versus thousands of dollars for a big surface grinder. And then if you want to convert it to using belts, it's even more, and you got to have the skills to do it. To me, this is like perfect. And it's a good price. And oh, by the way, I can stick it out of the way, stick it up top when I'm not using it. It doesn't take up any space. Another jig, it's actually a table with a movable rest on it to put the jig in the 6-inch jig, but that hasn't even been used. I don't know. I don't know if that was a wise investment, because like I said, now I'm trying not to use tables and jigs if I don't have to. Here's a kind of a wide shot of the dirty side of the shop. Sandblast cabinet. I got the mini mills, of the mill drills over there, buffers. That's the large tumbler right there. I'll go over all these things, you know, in more detail. Just random cubbies, and then I got my grinder. So basically, I used to have, let's see, over there where I have all my laundry now, I used to have the air compressor in there, and it's just so loud. It's only 26 gallons, and when you're sandblasting a bunch of parts, or even one part, it's basically on the whole time. And it's just noisy. It's like just a pain in the ass, and especially that now that I have somebody learning how to make knives and we need to communicate, it's just a pain in the ass to have on. So I end up moving it from there, and I end up building a little air compressor box outside. It just looks like a kind of like an outhouse. And I have that outside, and I just have a kind of, you know, redneck style. I have the lines running inside, the power line, and, you know, the hose, the air hose. And then it goes off into three different main uses that I use it for. The orange hose is just an air hose, but I can also take off the blower, and I can move it over here, and I hook it up to this cold gun for the mill, so that it keeps my carbide bits cooler, and it doesn't cost me an arm and a leg buying bits, end mills all the time. The other one is the blue line, which comes to my sandblast cabinet. The other line is my Cool Mist, and I'll show you that in a second. But first I want to show you the air compressor outside. It's dark out, but we'll try to take a little quick look. So it's outside, if you can see it very well. But I built this. I got like some thick insulation in there. Have a little light, little Amazon light that comes on automatic. It's 26 gallon, and just having it in the box is huge. But then since it's in a box and then outside, and I can close my door. I hear it when I'm inside, but I can speak normally and talk over it, and it's non-invasive. So that's been awesome. Here I have like the hand sanding station. It's kind of a mess because I've been moving, so I've been setting crap on it. But I have like a more of a rougher grit and a smoother grit for. I mean, you have to do a lot of hand sanding, and this is kind of like a surface grinder, but just if you don't want to, it's just for like the random small little parts, and you actually use that as much as you use this. At least I do, as much as I use the strap-on surface grinder. Okay, so back to the grinder. It's a Fear 454. I live in Oregon, so Jose, who makes these grinders, he's local. I mean, it's close. I've just been able to drive and pick these up when I want one. And he actually made this one with a Wilmot grinder plate for flipping it horizontal. So flipping plates. So just, if you can see this, all it is just two pieces of metal. I mean, it's a lot more than that, but I can flip it up, and now I have the option of using horizontal. I don't use it very often, but it's nice to have that option when I need it. And Jose is awesome. He gave me a really good deal on it. So like I said, one of the lines, the air compressor lines, comes to my Cool Mist, which I just have mounted up. It's got a magnet on it, so I just glued a piece of metal up onto the wall and just stick the magnet up there. So all I have to do is take it down, stick it onto the arm, put the tube into the bucket, and I turn the air compressor on, and I have the valve here to where I can adjust it. I think it also adjusts actually on the unit, but I can open this up or leave it closed when I want the air to build up. And that Cool Mist is so awesome. Instead of having a bucket, which I had mounted on like a little stool here, and having to constantly be dunking in nasty water. I don't even have to dunk it at all. I mean, even if it does start getting too warm, all I have to do is hold it in front of the water, and it cools down just almost immediately. And then when I don't want to use the cool mist, you know, I just take it off and I just stick it over here. Now it's out of the way, because a lot of times I don't need to necessarily watch the heat. You know, because I'm using it for something else besides just a blade or something. Okay, so next to it, just a random disc grinder, Harbor Freight. It does come in handy for deburring. Like when I'm putting holes into my scales, and I need to deburr really quick, and just stick it up against it and just get those little sharp edges off real quick. And my buddy does use that for his fixed blades, for, you know, wood handles and stuff. Again, most knife makers recognize this. It's just a cheap little the Harbor Freight version of a Portaband, and I have it set up in a vise so I can move it out of the way if I need to. And it's got a foot pedal. Yeah, so I don't use that much, but again, for the fixed blades, it does get used pretty often. My ghetto ventilation is a fan that blows all all the crap in the air from the grinder, blows it this way, and I turn this fan on, and, you know, theoretically it's gonna blow it out. And I do crack that garage, so I have like a little bit of a cross breeze. There's a large tumbler I mentioned that my buddy uses for fixed blades. His blades weren't gonna fit into my little tumbler, so I figured I'd just go buy the cement mixer, and it does the job. It's loud, but it's got little wheels, so I could just move it outside into the backyard if it became like a super nuisance, or if I was gonna be in here while I was tumbling. In the cubbies here, we have, this is my heat treat oven that I use for the folders. It's just nice and small. It gets hot really quick, and it gets to a really high heat. It gets up to 2200 in like 12 minutes, and I don't even need to go that high. So what I'll do is I'll heat treat my blades here, and I'll pull them out, and then I will plate quench them here. And I haven't once had an issue with a warped blade since I've been doing it this way. So it's been awesome. And I just take a boom, heat treat, boom, quench it. And then I have back here, you can see, I do the acetone dry ice method for, you know, for the cryo treatment. It gets cold enough and it works for me. A lot of guys use that, and that's what I use, and no problem so far. And then from there, as you guys know, I put it into the oven to temper. Couple random cubbies. These are the cubbies for my buddy who is learning how to make knives. That's all his stuff. On this side, we have the buffers. These ones I use for finishing, you know, orange peel, and this is like more of a satin finish, and this is really good for deburring. This we use more for when we're doing the edge, to kind of just polish up that edge and get it sharp. The drill mills I spend money stupidly sometimes. I figured I didn't want to waste a couple extra minutes, you know, going from a vise to a rotary table. So I just buy one for the rotary table, one for the vise, and this is the one for the vise, and this should just be all plunge cuts. Just simple stuff, drilling holes for, I mean, I had the little high-speed drills, but if I have some bigger holes I need to drill, I can use the drill mill. I got these little lights Mike Wynn told me about. These are awesome because they're adjustable and they're cheap. So that was way better than just that lighting. You can't really tell on the camera, but that is huge. So I'm glad Mike hooked me up with that link for those. And I got a whole bunch of, you know, tools to go with it, and it's just a lot of money spent. This one I have a couple different rotary tables. This one is just for, I use this for, you know, if I want to get certain lengths on screws or pivots, stuff like that. That's what I use that one for. But the main one I use is a 6-inch, and I just leave it here because it's easy for me to swap them. But yeah, that'll be rotary table stuff, and that'll just be the vise. So that'll just always stay, the vise will always stay over there. More random tooling, more stuff Mike maybe spend money on that actually comes in really handy. It's much better than the standard arbors. Yeah, talking to like knife makers who have experience. A lot of people want to kind of figure it out themselves, but I'm gonna ask questions, and maybe I'll get annoying after a while. But I'm gonna figure out the. I like to learn from other people's mistakes if I can. So sometimes that means you gotta spend money. Sandblast cabinet again. I think that's basically everything. Yeah, that's the whole shop. I mean, that's everything I have, and I've had some recent life changes, so I'm not going to be able to invest any more money on anything else in the future. So I'm going to have to make all this work, and hopefully I'm going to be a professional knife maker, and I'm going to make this my living, and I'm going to be self-reliant and self-sufficient, and I'm going to be able to make better and better knives for people and not have to go clock in and work for the man and have to work with people that maybe are less than stellar at their jobs. And that's the dream. So I'm gonna keep at this, guys, and hopefully it works. That's about it. That's the whole shop. If you guys have any suggestions on things that maybe I should change that might make the shop work better, I'm all ears. Leave comments or message me. And stay tuned. Hopefully I'll have some knife videos in the future. Thanks, guys.